Ever wonder how a company knows if it's going to make money before it even sells a single thing? Well, the secret is hiding in its operating budget. Think of it as the financial blueprint for success, and today we're going to build one together right from scratch.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to tackle the true cost of labor, then get into overhead. After that, we'll figure out what one single unit costs to make. From there, we calculate the cost of everything we sell, look at costs outside the factory, and finally, bring it all home to find our profit and that all-important break-even point. So let's get this blueprint built, one step at a time.
All right, first things first, we've got to figure out the cost of labor. This is really the foundation, the first big building block of all our manufacturing costs. And you'll see it's actually a little more complex than just looking at a paycheck.
So we're starting with the basics, the most straightforward part. We just look at how many units we plan to make. That tells us the number of labor hours we'll need. We multiply that by the hourly wage, and boom, we get our projected labor cost for the quarter. In this case, about 152 grand. Simple enough, right? Well, not so fast. What's kind of fascinating here is that number we just got, that's really just the tip of the iceberg. The real cost of having an employee on your team is way more than just their basic hourly wage.
And this right here shows you the whole picture. You have to pile on all those fringe benefits. We're talking about things like the company's share of FICA taxes, health insurance, life insurance, pension matching, all of it. And just like that, our labor cost shoots up from around $152,000 to almost $197,000. I mean, wow, that's a massive jump.
So here's the bottom line, the really crucial takeaway. Once you factor in all those benefits, the full, all-in cost for our labor is actually $24 an hour, not the $18.64 we started with. And believe me, knowing that true number is absolutely critical if you want your budget to be anywhere close to accurate.
Okay, so we've nailed down our labor cost. Let's move on to the next piece of our blueprint, manufacturing overhead. Think of this as all the other stuff it takes to keep the factory humming. Everything from the electricity bill to the factory manager's salary.
Now, to really get a handle on overhead and budget for it the right way, we have to ask a really important question. Think about it. When production goes up or down, do all these different factory costs react in the same way?
The answer? A big ol' no. We actually have to break them down into two different buckets. In one corner, you've got your variable costs, things like the power bill that go up and down depending on how much we're making. And in the other corner, you've got fixed costs. This is stuff like the factory rent or insurance. Those stay the same month after month, no matter what.
So, check this out. The variable overhead budget is directly linked to how busy we are. We basically apply a set rate for every hour of labor. So it makes sense, right? As our labor hours climb from April to June, our variable overhead costs climb right along with them.
But then you look at the fixed overhead, and it's the complete opposite. It's totally predictable, totally unchanging, a flat 9 grand every single month. It doesn't matter if we're making 1,000 units or almost 2,000. These are basically the costs of just keeping the lights on.
All right, we've gathered all the essential pieces. We've got our materials, we've got our true labor cost, and we have both variable and fixed overhead. So now we can finally solve the big puzzle. What does it actually cost to make just one of our finished products?
And this calculation is so important. We just take the cost of our materials, add that fully loaded labor cost of $48, and then we tack on the share of overhead for that unit. The grand total? One finished unit costs us $108.95. That number tells you exactly how much value is packed into every single item that comes off the line.
Okay, so we've got the cost for one unit locked down. Now let's zoom out a bit. We need to figure out the total cost for all the goods we plan to sell this quarter. There's a name for this really important number, cost of goods sold. You'll hear people call it COGS for short.
Before I show you the final numbers, the logic behind it is super simple, really. You just take the value of the inventory you started with, add all the new stuff you made, and then subtract whatever you have left at the end. What's left over, that's the cost of the goods you actually sold. Simple as that.
And here we have it, the master budget for all our manufacturing costs. This brings it all together, the materials we used, the direct labor we calculated, and both our variable and fixed overhead. After we account for inventory, our total cost of goods sold for the quarter is projected to be $484,284.
So why is that number so important? Well, here's the deal. When we take our total sales revenue and subtract that cost of goods sold, we get what's called our gross margin. And this is our first real peek at profitability. It tells us how much money we're making from just building and selling our product before any other expenses. But let's be real, a business is more than just a factory, right? You gotta spend money to make money. We're talking about things like marketing to find customers, R&D to innovate, and all the administrative stuff that keeps the whole operation running smoothly.
And guess what? Just like our factory costs, these non-manufacturing costs have variable and fixed parts too. You'll often hear them all lumped together under the acronym SG&A. That stands for Selling, General, and Administrative Costs. This includes things like variable sales commissions, as well as fixed costs like R&D and admin salaries. All of this is absolutely essential, and it definitely needs its own spot in our budget.
Okay, here we go. We're on the home stretch. We've accounted for every single cost, from the factory floor all the way to the front office. It's time to put all the pieces of our blueprint together and see what the final profit picture looks like.
And this is it, the bottom line of our operating budget. It's what's known as a pro forma, or projected income statement. We start with our sales, pull out the cost of goods sold to find our gross margin, and then subtract all those other non-manufacturing costs. The final result is a projected operating income of over $797,000 for the quarter. Not bad.
Okay, so seeing that profit number is great, but this budget lets us answer an even more powerful, more strategic question. We can now figure out the exact moment, the exact number of units we have to sell to cover every single one of our costs and officially become profitable. That magic number is called the break-even point. It's that perfect moment when the scales tip from loss to profit, where your total revenues exactly equal your total costs. For any manager, knowing this number is a massive strategic advantage, because it tells you that every single sale you make after that point is pure profit.
So there you have it. We've built a complete financial blueprint right from the ground up, starting with a single hour of labor and ending with the bottom line profit. So what's next? Well, the real power here isn't just in creating the plan. It's in using it to ask what if, and to make smarter decisions that steer the company toward even greater success.